You may think the World Cup is all about soccer, but maybe not for its host, Vladimir Putin. For him, it seems to be the perfect venue to celebrate his greatness, with some of the globe's most powerful leaders flocking to Russia to kiss the ring. Here he is, yucking it up with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, a little soccer, a new oil deal. And here he is making his influence felt in the North Korea peace talks with South Korea's Moon Jae-in. Some Western leaders, still angered by his annexation of Crimea and the poisoning of a few political dissidents, have boycotted the tournament.
There will be no attendance by ministers or indeed members of the royal family at this summer's World Cup in Russia.
But a few snubbed invitations haven't stopped Putin from scoring points off the soccer pitch as well. Countries like Italy and Austria have cozied up to him. And then, of course, there's Donald Trump, bolstering Putin's power by inviting Russia back to the G7, remember?
We have a world to run. And in the G7, which used to be the G8, they threw Russia out. They should let Russia come back in, because we should have Russia at the negotiating table.
Well, U.S.-Russian relations weren't nearly that friendly under Barack Obama. Back then, Putin was convinced that Obama and Hillary Clinton were out to get him, were trying to overthrow him. Obama's ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul, says when he arrived in Moscow, Putin saw him personally as the enemy, attacking him with fake news, Twitter bots, and more. The same kind of playbook that Putin used when meddling in the 2016 American election. Michael McFaul dives into Putin's propaganda machine in his new book, From Cold War to Hot Peace. And Ambassador Michael McFaul joins us from Palo Alto, California. It's fascinating because the tools that you say that he used or people around him used to denigrate you, fake news, photoshopping to make you look like you were doing all of these devious things, we ended up seeing all of those, particularly the fake news used in the 2016 election. Like, was he practicing on you and his own people and then deliberately using those tactics in the U.S. election?
Yes, I wouldn't call it practicing. I think he was using those domestically, and then he found that those tools work, that propaganda works, that disinformation works, that it's hard to respond to that kind of thing. I mean, you know, in my case, the low point of that was when a video circulated accusing me of being a pedophile. How do you respond to that? You get on Twitter and you say, no, I'm not, and then you're in some debate with a bunch of Russian trolls about that. And so I think he decided that those tools did work within his own country, and then he's taken them abroad, and he's used them not only in the United States, but most dramatically in the United States, and I would say rather successfully.
The Putin-Trump relationship, the story sort of dates back to when you were there, and there was the Miss Universe pageant happening in Moscow. We had allegations of the P-tape happening in the Ritz-Carlton, allegations that Trump was having these rather curious meetings with Kremlin types. So there was this relationship happening during your time as ambassador, and here's a guy who ended up, you know, having presidential ambitions that were sort of known at the time. Did the intelligence community not know that this was going on, that this relationship was building?
Well, I most certainly, as ambassador, knew that Donald Trump was in Moscow in 2013. You're right, I was the ambassador at the time. You know, normally we offer up briefings to business people that come, and obviously government people, we do that. I don't recall us doing that for him and his organization. We would have had they approached us. And of course, had he done that, we would have warned him, as we do all visitors to Moscow, at least when I was ambassador, that in places like the Ritz-Carlton, the Russian government has tremendous capabilities to monitor and record what you do there. And just everybody should be aware of that. And I don't know what Mr. Trump and his colleagues did. I want to make that clear. But I know whatever they did do, the Russian government has the means to record it.
During Putin's time, we've seen the rise of populism, nationalism growing all over the world, really. He's been criticized, but is he effective? Like, is he a ruthless genius?
Putin most certainly believes that he is fighting an ideological war against the liberal democratic order and against liberal ideas and against NATO and the European Union and the United States of America. Sometimes I think we forget about it. Here in Palo Alto, you ask people on the street, are we in an ideological war with Russia? And they kind of look at you funny, right? And it's not the same ideological struggle of the Cold War between communism and capitalism. It's, in Putin's view, he is a leader of the conservative, orthodox, traditional values world, fighting the decadent, illiberal West in Europe and Canada and the United States. That's the way he talks. And I think we have to say honestly today that he is achieving some success. He has supporters throughout Europe, and some of them have come to power. He has given money to some of those groups, and he has invested billions of dollars in organizations like Russia Today and Sputnik and the trolls that he has on social media to propagate those ideas. And I do think he is achieving some success, including, by the way, even here in the United States, where he has strong followings within the Republican Party right now. That's unprecedented. That's never happened before. And yet significant minorities, they're still minorities, but the numbers are moving in the positive direction. More and more people support Putin's ideology.
It's been great to talk to you, Ambassador. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.